Good morning. It's May the 9th, 2016, and the markets, equities are higher, continuing Friday's rally that began in the E-mini in the U.S. markets. It continued over the weekend. Analysts are pointing to the price of oil, which has come back quite a bit as the reason for the strength in equities. The only market that was down was China's, and China, it's really interesting. You get kind of the yin and the yang, or the yin and the yang, out of their government. They came out officially and said an L-shaped recovery. Don't look for extra stimulus. And so that started the selling. The commodities market got routed, which is where you'd expect to see it first. Then on top of that, they came out and said that Chinese businessmen and industrialists should not talk about the capitalism's markets and dynamics as opposed to the state dynamics. So listen, the system protects itself, and unfortunately we saw that in Venezuela, where Maduro's chief opponent that was rising quickly was assassinated this weekend. Then if the system wants to, it will come back in and clean up itself. So anyway, China, from the best guess, maybe 70% of the business in China, the industry, and the rest of it is tied or associated in some way to the Communist Party. And these guys aren't going to, take a much different line than the Communist Party. And if you have a few of those that step out of line, are quickly brought back in line. It's the way it works. Can't sell stocks if you're a major shareholder. If you're a large institution, can't short the market. If you're a journalist, you have to write glowing articles about the party and the state of the economy, etc. So it's always hard to really know what you have in China. Okay, I did this split right here. If I added the Globex session to the selling that began in I period, we've got to move out of the middle. You do not want to fade against 20, but the next place and where the move started is at 24.5. So selling 23s to 27s, sell 1, 31 to 03, sell 2. On the buy side, 13 to 17, buy 1, 5 to 9, buy 2. This is an auction week. The market can sell today, especially if the E-mini rallies, but the bottom's not going to come out of it because of the auction. You can't move the paper that you'd like to move in a down market. So auction week brings a different set of dynamics. If the stock market rallies and blows through 2060, next stop's 2075. If that comes out, all that will pressure treasuries, but again, I don't believe they'll break because of the auction. Today's news, labor market conditions index, nobody has an estimate for that. Overnight, Germany's factory orders came in quite a bit above forecast. Japanese consumer sentiment was unchanged, and the European Syntex index investor sentiment was unchanged. So some good news for the EU. Okay, the bond isn't as strong as the 10-year because the knob spread is coming in, and so our first area of resistance is going to be the 6 to 10 area. So sell 1's 15 to 19 on the assumption we can get through 610, and then 27 to 31 for sell 2. Hard to see it getting that high, but you never know. Support is 20 to 21. Make the first buy 17 to 13. Second buy 1 to 5. Gold's off quite a bit, and it's, you'd say, oh, the stock market's up, gold's off. That's not necessarily true all the time. Can be, but Chinese commodities sold quite a bit, and that may have more to do with it than anything else. We've got support down here at 70, and that's where support is, and then we have support over here. Near support will be at 66, so I think we're going to head lower. 71 to 69 by 1. 64 to 66 by 2. On the sell side, we'll just make it 75, 77, very, very aggressive. Then 80 to 82 for sell 2. Like to lean against 77 if possible, but we're at 74 right now, and 75, 77 might be where we find the first wave of selling. Okay, looking at the euro. Go to the longest line of letters. Try to go to the longest line of letters, and new distribution started down, probably in T. It has continued. We took out the value area low anyway, but anyway, T or W. So pretty good support. Pretty good resistance. Basically, is at 114 even. 14, 14.10. Sell 1. 14.25, 35, sell 2. We've gotten stops below 114 even, so buy 1, 13.75. Then buy 2 will be 13.50. Probably the biggest thing facing the EU this week will be what happens with Greece. Greece, have they done enough belt tightening? Are they enough cutbacks in their programs to warrant an increase or the next tranche of the money that have been promised them for cleaning up their act? And be lots of discussion, but the bottom line is that they will get their much needed round of money. I mean, it's the only way they can keep it going. News stories out over the weekend are that Greece wasn't saved, but Greek banks were. Now, a lot of people, it's real easy if you're a politician to go get the bankers and the rest of that. But you have to understand, in Europe, there is no private pension system. The debt is financed by banks. And Greece can't survive without the banks buying their paper. And so if you don't shore up the banks first, which is a little bit different than our system, you have no buyers of the paper to fund the debt and the programs that they have. But it's a little bit different situation. In the United States, we actually have a private pension system where people outside of unions and government entities have to save for their retirement, or should. And so it's a little bit different on whether you save the banks in the United States or not. Right now, the banks in the United States are too big to fail. It would cause would really shake the foundations, and that's why the government has instituted the policies that they have had, too big to fail. Which means that our banking system can take inordinate risks and reap the reward monetarily when they're right, and if they're wrong, they can pass the losses on to the taxpayer, and that's not good either. So each system's got a little bit different take on how to run and do things. Okay, crude oil. Everybody's talking about how strong crude oil was. The high was set in Globex. You can see it right here, right under 46. So our 46, 46.50 is pretty good. resistance, big picture stuff. You get in that 43.50 area, 44 area. Pretty good support, and we're headed lower right now. The attractor is 43.90, this high volume number. As long as we stay below 45, this market can trade lower and should make 44 before the selling is over. Where do the buyers kick in? 43.50 looks pretty obvious, so 44 would be the first place. This high volume number should bring in some short covering, and obviously we got to get to 44 first. So we'll make 44, 44 and a quarter, buy one. We'll put a question mark at 50. The winds have shifted in Canada. The industrial infrastructure is not threatened as long as the winds stay shifted. And 43, 43.75 for buy two. 45 even, 45 and a quarter, sell one. 45.50, 45.75, sell two. Like the short side better. And to the E-mini, can we get through 2060 this morning or not? If we do, 2060, 2063, then the next stop is 75. And you can see the rally that began on Friday afternoon. Here we are to a London split. And right there is resistance at 60. So 59 to 63, sell one. Get through that. We've got these single prints up here. We have this fill. Basically 72 to 65 would be the next sell point. So we would make this single double print right here at 68. We make 68.73, sell two. No news to drive the trading today. Basically, can you take out resistance at 60 to 63? On the buy side, 50 looks like pretty good support, so 50, 52. Buy one. 45, 47. Buy two. Fundamentals stink. Worst earnings seasons we've had, I forget what year they said, since maybe 2008, 2009. But everybody knows that. It's a presidential year. The Fed is supportive of the market. Everybody wants to sell it. Everybody gets burned when they do sell it in size. They do get a day or two of selling, then the market comes right back in their face. So, and I don't see the Fed ever not wanting the stock market to be sideways to higher. It started with Greenspan, and it's continued ever since. Okay, it's going to take a bit to get everything up and posted. I will get it done. I'll be back with you as soon as possible.